Okay, so I'm definitely like not a YouTuber or anything like that. This video is not about to be fancy like at all. My camera, hold on, let me try to get the job done. Okay. So anyway, like I was saying, I'm really not a YouTuber. I'm not like one of those girls that I don't have like YouTube video presence. So bear with me. I just came on here because God has really been convicting me to like let go of my old identity, basically. Like I feel like for a really long time I've been struggling with accepting my purpose. Like God chose me to, you know, spread his word to people and to just be honest with myself, with others, most importantly with him, you know what I'm saying? And just stop playing around. Like I was been supposed to make a YouTube. I was been supposed to post a video about dreams that I've had and about my testimony and about all this stuff that's been, you know, that I could just could have been talking about. But here I am. What is it? December 3rd. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And obviously, you know, God, like I was really just inspired, honestly. Like I was watching all these videos of these other people that was just giving their testimonies, and I was like, you know what? I need to get my life together. I need to tell my testimony. I need to, you know what I'm saying? And so here I am. Anyway, so basically I'm just here to talk about how hard it's been for me to like accept the fact that God chose me. Like for the longest time, I knew I was different from other people, especially like kids my age. Like my mom and dad raised me, you know, as a believer in Jesus. Like I remember I got saved for the first time when I was like 5, but I had like a deeper understanding of God ever since I can really remember, since I was 3, since I was in preschool. I remember having an argument with this kid about God versus Santa, and he was trying to tell me that Santa was more powerful than God because he could slide down the chimney. I said, well, God can see through the chimney. So yeah, so I knew God was like all powerful, and I knew about Satan at a young age too. I remember when I was young, I was probably like, by this time I was like 5 or 6, and my mom is like a prayer warrior. Like if you ever met my mom, you know, she's one of the main reasons that I believe in God and that I believe in Jesus, because she's just a true woman of God. But we were praying in my basement long ago, like I said, when I was like 6 or 7, 5 or 6, I mean. And like she was like, we was going hard in prayer. I don't know what we was praying about. And I'm just sitting there in the basement, and while she's praying, and I just hear, like during a pause, I hear, "I hate you, little rat." And it was like the most diabolical voice that my young ears had heard. And I asked my mom, I said, "Ma, you hear that?" She like, "Hear what?" I told her what I heard. And she said, "That's the devil, Christian. And he does hate you. But God loves you more than he could ever hate you." You know? And that was when I realized, like, yo, God is real. Like at that time, by that time I knew God was real, the devil was real. So that was never a question in my mind. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that I think kind of like threw me off track just early on a little bit, like one of my struggles was, so like when you go through trauma at a young age, it's like everything is like mixed up, you know? Like some memories are vivid, some memories are shoddy, like, but I do have vivid memories from the earliest, when I was preschool. A lot of things happened when I was in preschool. I have vivid memories of a boy in my preschool class at nap time. He would come and like the teacher would leave. Like, I don't know what the teacher would be doing at this time, but she will always leave. Whoever the teacher was for that day will always leave or whatever during nap time. And there was this boy that used to come over to my cot. You know, we slept on cots in preschool. And while everybody was asleep, he pulled my pants down and was like giving me oral. And this is like when we was 3 or 4. So I remember that happening multiple times. Like, so that happened. And then like after that, it was just like, I just remember having like too many, like not like 20, but just too many experiences with kids like that. Like, I just remember different kids in my life that violated me. And we was kids, they was kids, you know, like in 2020, I'm not looking at them and blaming them. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously some things were happening to them. Like, no one in my home was like touching me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was every time that I ever had been touched, it was by other kids. And one of the tough like memories, I swear I wasn't gonna cry. Hold on. Okay. One of the tough memories that I just remember is like, as a result of these things, like I remember, you know, a couple of times I touched other kids too, like, and I think this was the only time I really did this was between the ages of 3 and 5 for me. Like, that I can like clearly remember that I did do it. And after like a certain age, I just knew that it wasn't right. Like, I started watching porn. Like, there was this channel. Okay, this is so weird. So on my TV, you know, we had cable back then. On my TV, I would turn like all the way, like I'd be watching like Sci-Fi Channel or whatever. Like, I would turn all the way to the end of the channels, like 100. And there would be like fuzz. The screen would be fuzz. But it would be like porn. Like, it was like fuzzy porn. And I would be like, how old was I? Like 5, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Like, between the age of 5 and 8, I would just be watching like this fuzzy porn on channel 100, like deep on the late night. Not every night, but I would watch it. Like, and then when I got a little bit older, I was like 9, 10. Mind you, I'm going to church every Sunday with my family. Like, at that point, I was no longer like, I wasn't touching anybody. Like, I was barely being touched. Like, I don't remember being touched at that age. Like, when I was like in 3rd grade, like once I transferred schools, because I went to a Christian school in kindergarten through 2nd grade that got closed down. And then I switched schools. And at this new school, I just remember like I wasn't doing any of that stuff. And nobody was really doing any of that stuff to me. So in church, though, there was this family. That was weird. Like, it was my church was like, it was like a classic church that just had a bunch of misguided people in it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what church is. But I'm saying, like, the pastor, the members, the deacons, everybody was fried. Like, so At this church, there was a family, and they had a son and a daughter. They really had 2 daughters and a son. The son was 16. The daughter was like 13 or 14. Their other daughter was older, but she had like some developmental issues or whatever, you know, like not really bothering anybody, you know, whatever. She was really sweet. But the guy, the brother, and the girl. So one day, a few times this happened. My family used to always have like cookouts, you know, parties after church. And I was the kid that will always be trying to like get my cousins to come over after church. That would try to get like my friends to come over after church. Like, you know, that was my thing. So all of my friends came over after church for this cookout that we was having. Like, all their parents was at our house. All of my friends from church came over. People that really wasn't my friend was over there. Like, it was going. Like, church, Kick It Central, that was my house, okay? So, everybody from church was at my house. All my friends. And we playing hide and seek. Mind you, I'm like 10 or 11. All my friends older than me. And then there's the brother and the sister. So they're like, oh, let's play hide and seek. Let's play hide and seek. Everybody, all the adults is outside. So we got the whole house. We running in the basement. We in the different rooms, hiding in the closets. Like, everybody's hiding. So I go to hide, excuse me. And the brother is like, oh, come hide with me. Come hide with me. Like, whatever. Mind you, I told you I'm like 10 or 11. He's 16. So I go hide with him in the closet or wherever we was hiding, somewhere dark and stupid. And he like made me sit on his lap and was trying to like make me feel on him, on his private parts. And I just remember just feeling so scared, like I didn't know what was gonna happen next. And then somebody came and they found us. And so I'm like, oh, yes, like, get up and I leave. Because mind you, at this time, like, I never had told anybody about the things that was happening to me, like, when I was younger, and the things that I did, you know what I'm saying? Like, as a result of that. So I never had told anybody any of this stuff. And so I didn't really know what was right and what was wrong, like, when it came to that. Like, nobody had ever told me, you know, don't let nobody touch you, or if somebody ever touches you, you know, tell somebody, or nobody ever told me that. So, and it's like, you know, you would think that something like that is like self-explanatory, but it's really not. Like, when you're a kid, like, you're not thinking logically. Like, and then the sister, she used to like always like flash me her boobs. Like, she was like 13, but she was really developed, okay? And she would like try to flash me her boobs. Like, if we went to a store, like to Kohl's, we just all used to be at like department stores. Like, I don't know who we would be with. And like, she would always try to get me to like come in the dressing room with her so she could like flash me. All this stuff was just happening to me at a young age. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all this like sexual stuff. And like, one time they brought me over to their people's house. Like, their people took us to Akron University of Akron basketball game, okay? And after the game, we went back to their house, and they showed me like this huge porn collection that they people's had. Like, it was in the living room. Like, it was, and I can't even remember what these people look like. I promise you, like, their people, their family, I can't even remember what they look like. But they just, after they brought us back, they just went away. Like, they just went upstairs, whatever. Like, mind you, they got all these kids downstairs with their porn. Like, they don't care. I don't know where their dog was at. Like, but the brother and sister showing me all the covers of the porn and, like, showing me all the stuff, asking me, do I want to watch it? I'm like, no, I don't want to watch this. Like, but you know, I was like still curious about it. Like, I was like, wow, like, look at all these naked people, you know, like on the cover. Like, I wasn't watching it, but I was curious. Like, so I was watching those blurry channels, and then like finally we got some service or whatever, some kind of like what is that? A cable service. And it had like porn on there. So like porn movies. So I'll be watching that. By this time I was like 11 or 12. So I'm seeing all kind of stuff. And I remember just one day, like, I just knew it wasn't right. I just knew it wasn't right. And I said, God, can you please change me? Like, I don't know why I'm like this. Like, I just remember just asking God to just please help me. Like, I don't know why I'm like this. And at that time, I was not looking, like, self-reflecting at my past. Like, oh, you're like this because you know, you went through childhood trauma. Like, I'm still a kid, like, you know, so I'm just like asking God, like, I feel like I'm too young to be thinking like this. And I wasn't like trying to have sex. Like, I wasn't fast, one of those fast girls. Like, I wasn't even like that. Like, I was real shy, real quiet, like, you know, like real fun, but just not, I wasn't into that stuff like that, like openly. And I just didn't feel right. So I just remember, like, during that time, like, he did help me out, like, and I stopped, like, watching that stuff, and I never touched anybody, like, you know, I never, like, all of that stuff, like, kind of, like, went away from me, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I was delivered from that, and I never really revisited it, like, until way later down the line. So, anyway, throughout high school and middle school, I went to a Christian school. I had a couple years where I transferred into public school. And during those couple, like 8th grade year, I went to public school, and my senior year of high school, I went to public school. And those years that I went to public school were a pinnacle because they just changed certain things about me. Like, I kind of was a little bit more edgy. Like, you know, I like was more into like the hood guys because I went to school with them and I saw how they live, how they dress, and then I went back to private school and it was just like, ugh, like, you guys are lame. I want to go back to the ratchets. Like, you know, like I was, you know, I kind of got exposed, turned out a little bit to the hood lifestyle. Okay, so I had to delete like so many things. Okay, anyway, like I was saying, so I was into the hood boys at this point in time, whatever, like really just got turned up to some stuff that I really didn't have no business getting turned up to, okay? So senior year was a big time for me because I had just transferred from my Christian school to the public school, and the school that I went to before I transferred was just, it was really watered down. Like, there was a couple teachers there that I felt like actually like believed in Jesus and was like, God used those teachers to teach me some things, I mean. But a lot of the teachers in there was fried, and a lot of the students were, I mean, it was just a weird school. Like, it turned, so many scandals like turned up there, and you know, like you can't blame that on God or on the faith or whatever, but they would like sweep stuff under the rug that was racist. It was just so much stuff going on there and behind the scenes, which is why I left in the first place. So I left there and went to my new school, and it was like the school in my neighborhood. And from there, you know, I started playing sports for their teams. Basketball was my sport, and I was like the star on the team because their team sucked. You know, just to say. So I was like the star athlete on the basketball team. Like, everybody knew me because I was like one of the only new people in all the 4 years that done pulled up. And I really didn't know nobody, but I just knew my friends or whatever. So I guess I was like, had a little buzz going or whatever. I don't know. During basketball season specifically, like, I had met this guy on Instagram who ended up being my boyfriend, and like, we was just dating at first. Mind you, like I said, like, ever since my childhood, like, I had been like cool on sex, on like, you know, I really wasn't even dating. This was like my first boyfriend. So, you know, we were seeing each other. I went to his house. I used to like tell my mom and them I was at one of my friend's house and really be like staying the night over his house because his mom didn't care. So, you know, I was on those vibes. I felt like I was grown, especially after I turned 18, like in the middle of my senior year. I just got a car. You know, I really felt like I was doing it. You know what I'm saying? I was grown. I'm doing this. You know, I got it or whatever. Mind you, still living with my parents, still in high school. Didn't even have a job yet. So I was dating this guy and, you know, I thought he was the one. Like, I'd never been with anybody. He, you know, was the one that I end up losing my virginity to. So, you know, once you do that, you kind of like locked in with somebody, like, especially at a young age. Like, so, you know, I was really locked into this relationship and people was warning me about him, you know, like, oh, don't put all your eggs in one basket, girl, because he be doing this, he be doing that. I was like, y'all are just jealous. Y'all don't know about our love. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. So everybody was just tripping and I just knew. I just knew that he was just for me and whatever. Like, so basically the guy was, no, like he was tragic and our relationship was tragic. I went through so much insecurities, like, from that time, like, and he was manipulative, and also during that time, mind you, I told you, like, this was the only guy I'd ever been with, but, like, 6 months into our relationship, he ended up burning me. And so I had an STD and I never had experienced anything like that. You know what I mean? So I went to the doctor. I just felt, my body felt so, I just felt gross. Like, I don't know, like something just didn't feel right. And my mom told me that I need to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor and, you know, you gotta wait like a couple days or whatever. They called me and they told me I had chlamydia. Mind you, I'm 18. It's the summer before college. I'd only been with one person. I'm like devastated. And I went to him and I told him what they had told me. And he was like, well, who had you been with? Who have you been with? I was like, what? Like, I was so confused. Like, I'm always at his house or wherever he was at the time. Like, he didn't move this place. Wherever he was at, I was there. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was pulling up, bringing him food, just doing all kind of, you know what I'm saying? Just, so he basically tried to flip the script on me. He said it was me that gave it to him. And, you know, like saying like he don't know where I've been. I could have been lying to him when I said I was a virgin. Like, just typical stuff of a manipulator. Me being young and dumb, I, you know, forgave him and was back into our back and forth. Like, he had like multiple girls in the background. So eventually, like, our relationship fizzled out, not before he burnt me another time. So there's that, yes. And I, you know, I took my medicine or whatever, but during that time of just going through that, like, I was so broke down. Like, I was hurt all the time. I was crying all the time. I just remember, like, crying in the shower, like, feeling worthless. Like, why can I not get away from this guy? Like, why? And why do I don't feel comfortable in my body? Like, I just felt worthless. I even one day I wrote a letter and I was basically talking about how I wanted to die. Like, I was so lost. And I wrote this letter about how I wanted to die and how I was about to kill myself. And I had like all these pills that I found, and I had like this pint of Hennessy, and I was going to down the Hennessy with the pills, and I don't know if that was even gonna work, but I was gonna do it. And I sat there and I stared at the letter, and I read what I wrote, and I just broke out crying. I broke down crying, and I destroyed the letter. It was like when I was 18 or 19. I destroyed the letter. Later I went to college. Later that year, in 2013, I went to college. And the guy I was seeing went to college. And I found out that we weren't seeing each other anymore on Instagram when the other girl that had always been in the background like posted a picture of them. And she was on his bag, and she posted like the emojis. The caption had like the lock and key emoji or whatever, like blah blah blah. He had liked it, whatever. So I was like, okay, this is it. Then this is what, you know what I'm saying, like this is what it is. So it took me a while to get over that, I ain't even gonna lie. Like, and that is really what kind of like started my downward spiral into, I started drinking a lot, I started partying a lot. After that, I had like sex with 2 more people. And then after that, I was just like, after the second person, that guy really opened up that wound, that old wound of like that sexual beast that was trying to take over my childhood, you know? So that guy kind of opened the door to that monster that was like lurking in the shadows, like that had never really left. So I kind of became addicted to sex. Like I was just I had a sex demon for sure. And I had experiences where I felt like I wasn't even having sex. Like I would be with someone, but when we were like in the moment, like I would leave my body and I would just be like watching us. Or I wouldn't even be, or I would feel like I was an animal. I wasn't even a person no more. Like I would feel like I was an animal and the other person was an animal. And we were like it was so, bro, when I tell you, it was so crazy and so weird. Like I don't even know if other people had experienced some of the things I had experienced, because I never talked about it. But, and there were some people who knew, I know they knew, either they were real demons or they knew they had a demon, because the experiences that we would have together like were like outer body. And it wasn't normal. Like it didn't feel normal. It didn't feel, and I couldn't stop. Like it was literally living inside of me. It would look at me in the mirror and it would laugh at me. Like I would look at myself in the mirror, and I could only look for so long, because once I started looking for too long, like my reflection would like be like, ha, I got you. I got you. You're a slave to me. Like that's what my reflection would say to me. Like it was so scary. Like I didn't know what to do. And once I started living out in the city where my college was at, like I kind of started experiencing more of this, and I started drinking a lot more, smoking weed a lot. Weed is one of my vices. Weed, sex, and boys, which boys and sex are like this, but excuse me, those are my vices, and alcohol at the time. So I was like getting really drunk, partying a lot, making bad choices, sleeping around, you know, like just out here. Like, and it's like what all these girls sing about now and what you hear so much music about, but really I felt so empty and I felt so dirty and so worthless. I had been deep on like just sex and alcohol and weed binges. Like I would just go days and days and days. Like I would go to class sometimes, and then I would come back, drink with my roommate all day, you know, call up one of my dudes and have him come over or go over there. And then those are my days. Like that's how I would spend my days. I would go to class high. Like I would just be, I thought I was living a life. One day I was just so high, I tried to open the Bible, and a voice yelled at me and said, close my book. Literally, like, yelled at me. And I was like, oh, like, I was shocked. I was like, God, like, who? I was scared. Like, I only heard God's voice a couple times. That was the first time I had ever in life heard God's voice. And it scared me like no other. I was so scared because he was telling me, yelling at me to close the Bible. What? I was like, what? But I was so high. Like, I said, dang, like, do I need to stop smoking weed? Like, that was my, my first time really, like, questioning the things that I was doing, like, on a spiritual level. Like, does God want me to do this stuff? And the answer was no, obviously, but, I kept trying to live my life and do what I wanted to do. In the midst of my vices, I ended up getting into a car accident in 2015. And this car accident, I hydroplaned on the turnpike, on the highway. There was no other cars around me, so I'm spinning, and I'm spinning on the highway, spin, going like 45 miles an hour as the rain is like pouring down. Spin into a pole. My car flips over 3 times. Boom, 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 boom. I ain't have no seatbelt on. I thought I was going to be ejected from the car. Like, nobody was in the car with me. I was on my way to see some dude. My mom told me I had not to go out that late. I thought I was going to die. I truly thought that that was it. I was like, well, I saw my whole short life. I was like 20 at the time. I saw my whole short life. Phew. And I just thought to myself, like, wow, I didn't do anything. Like, this is not, please, God, don't let me die. And I flipped so many times in the car. And I just remember, though, like, feeling like I was in a bubble. Like, when the car flips over and people don't have seatbelts on, like, they might break their neck on the thing, or they might, like, I was like this. Like, something was, like, wrap me up, like, in a ball. Like, why? And I'm, like, bouncing off the top of the car. Like, I was not crashing into it or anything. I ended up, like, when the car was settled or whatever, it was on its side, tilted, and my feet were on the passenger seat window. I was, like, crouched over. And I couldn't open any of the doors. The part where the pedals were at, like, where my feet go, were gone. Like, the whole bottom of the car was gone. All you could see was the ground. The back seat was caved in. I had to climb out the window just to get out the car. Some guy came over to me and was like, are you okay? I was just bawling because I was on the phone while this had happened, just talking to somebody about this other girl that had passed away in a car accident. And I said, you never know what's going to happen. You never know when it's your time. You never know when it's your time. 2 minutes later, boom, car accident. Didn't have a scratch on me. Guy comes over, calls the police. I'm in shock. It's raining. I have on flip-flops. I'm crying. Like, it's like May or June. Like, I am bawling. Like, I could not believe what had just happened. And I couldn't believe that I was alive with no scratches. And I got a ticket for destruction of property for hitting a, like, 60-foot pole. And the pole was untouched, unscratched. But I was chastised for just all the things that I was doing. But he still saved my life. He gave me mercy. And I was like, yo, do I even deserve this? Like, I did cry out to God. I did cry out. And I asked him to save me. And, I would love to say, like, I definitely had a major change in my life. I would love to say that I changed completely, but I didn't. And I struggled with sexual sin for years. Like, that was when I was 20. I've struggled, like, really bad until I was, like, 24. Along the way, I had met guys one guy who like revealed to me after we had hooked up with protection that he had HSV. So at one point in time, I thought I could have had HSV. I got tested multiple times. I don't have it. Didn't have it then. But that was the scariest thing to ever happen to me in an experience with a guy when I knew that I wasn't supposed to be having like premarital sex. That was scarier than a pregnancy scared me, because that's something that I was just like, bruh, if that happened to me, my whole life would be different right now. So God literally like saved me from so many things. Just dealing with these different dudes, like different guys, different people who were really trying to like lead me down a path that would destroy my life. Literally, like guys who were trying to manipulate me, make me feel less than, you know. And I had always struggled with that, like wanting someone to love me, like, but it had gotten to a point where it was like out of control, because I was so hurt from my first relationship that I let it drag me down a path that I didn't know how to get off of, really. Like, I didn't know what to do. And in 2019, I moved to Arizona. That was the first time that I had really tried really hard to be celibate and to be, to not have sex. And that was the first year that I didn't have sex like every week. That I went months even without having sex. That I, you know, really tried to like build a relationship with God. That I started like doing research on, you know, the Bible and why sexual sin is so hard to get rid of, because of like soul ties. I started learning about soul ties, and I started learning about just the curses that can come from sexual sin. I learned how much God detests us to live immorally in sexual sin. I took time to really understand why. Like the consequences would always just seem so drastic. Like I was on my way to a sneaky link and my whole car flipped over. Or like I would be staying the night. Like one time I stayed the night at this same guy's house, the same guy that I got into a car accident trying to go see. One time I went to go see him and my car got towed overnight. And like things like that will always happen. Like that would let me know, like, or just a feeling, like just something would always just let me know. God will always just let me know, like, bruh, you're not supposed to be here. Like, you're not supposed to be with them. You're not supposed to be having sex. You're not, you know what I'm saying? And so like over and over and over and over again, I just allow myself to fall into the traps of sexual sin. Now, 25, moved back from Arizona to Ohio, and I moved back to a place where, remember I told you about the guy who like opened up the whole realm of me realizing I had a sex demon? Like that guy was like on my neck as soon as I came back. So I like fell into, coming from like trying to be celibate and all that, like I like fell right back into the cycle of just sex. Like and he knew me so well. He just knew me so well. So it was just so hard to like let it go. And I remember having a dream of him one time. God would like show me things about guys through dreams, and I used to ignore it, but now I don't. But he gave me a dream about him while I was in Arizona. And in the dream, the guy was like towering over me. And he was looking down on me. And he said, tell me you love me. And I never had told this guy I loved him in my life. Like, we had been dealing with each other for years. Like, longer than I had ever dealt with anybody. And that dream really meant so much to me in the end. Because he was really, the guy did not respect me at all. He did not respect me. He just wanted me to do, he wanted me to do whatever he said. And I'm not that kind of girl anyway. But I felt myself becoming weaker while I was like dealing with him. Because he was just having too much influence on me. I don't know. And my soul tie with him, to this day, I've severed it multiple times. So I don't even like to speak his name. That's how strong the soul tie was. I came back to that. And I just was like, bruh, I'm not trying to do this one more year. Like, I can't do this one more year. I can't. Like, I've been in so many different situations where my body was the only thing I thought people wanted from me. And now, just the thought of like the fact that I really thought that that was all that I had to offer is sad. Like, that was what I really thought all I had to offer was. I didn't think I was gonna find anybody. I didn't think that if I didn't have sex with them first, I could be with them. You know what I mean? Like, how am I gonna be celibate if I don't know what my husband's, you know, sex is gonna be like? I really thought that. And I used to like give my friends crooked advice about sex. I just want to say, you know, I'm not perfect, and currently I have decided to be celibate, but it is one of the most hardest sins that I've had to deal with, even more than weed. And if you knew or know me, you know that I have smoked a lot of weed, okay? But sex was like, it really took me years to stop letting myself like fall victim to my sexual sin. And I just thank God every day for delivering me from the person that I was. And I'm tempted often, but I pray for strength that he will continue to keep me pure, keep me motivated. And I pray that one day I'll find a husband, like, you know, that will love me for me and love Jesus wholeheartedly. Because one thing my mom told me that I will never forget, ever, is that there are so many imposters. Watch out for the imposters. That's literally what she told me that a long time ago. And I used to think like, girl, everybody ain't no imposter. How everybody go? When I tell you I have not dated one guy, not one guy that was the one, or even close to the one. For real. Like, I can look back and be like, he might have been the one. I messed that up. Like, no, like none of them was the one. They was all imposters. And like, it don't get more realer than that. Like, shoot. Don't mind me playing with this paintbrush because it's just something to do with my hands. I pray if you're dealing with sexual sin that God would give you strength, that God would deliver you, that God would direct you on cutting those soul ties, severing those soul ties from the people in your life that are still lingering. They're still lingering spiritually. They're still lingering in the spirit. And you might wonder, like, why somebody that that you've dealt with, like, will text you when you're thinking about them, or like, like, or they just so happen to pop up, or you know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, soul ties are real. I feel like the devil uses those against us so much, because there are so many times where I was trying to get past, get through, this struggle, and like the wrong person would just hit me up. Somebody that really had like a grip, a death grip on my soul, like as far as like that goes. And you got to recognize that. You got to recognize that, and you got to pray for deliverance and to sever that soul tie. Sever it. Ask God to cut you loose from it, and cut you loose from sexual sin. Because I read something one time that said, like, and this was so extreme, I used to like laugh at it, but it was like, now that I think about it, I'm like, whoa, that's so true. Like, having premarital sex is like having sex on top, passionate sex on top of the lake of fire. I don't think no sex is worth being thrown into the lake of fire. Like, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Like, living in hell because of some guy that doesn't even love me, and I just threw my whole future away. Like, if I would have died in my car accident, I don't know if I would have went to heaven. I really don't know. I don't think I would have, actually, because of the lifestyle I was living, regardless of, my faith in God. Like, I really was not, I have fell away real bad, and I just don't think I would have made it. So if you're dealing with sexual sin, you are not alone by any means. I know a lot of young people these days is dealing with it. Like, there's sex everywhere, in the media, in the music, on the internet. It's just everywhere. You can't get away from it. And it's like drowning. And it's to the point, like, as a woman, they want you to, like, be a sex symbol no matter what you do. Like, every time I get on Instagram, I see a girl posting something with her panties or her butt. Everyone's making an OnlyFans account, trying to get you to watch porn. Like, it's just so much going on right now. And it's just a sign of the times, Jesus returning. It took me a long time to really, like, get to this point where I feel comfortable with sharing my journey with other people. This is like one of many videos that I'm gonna make too, because I got, as you can see, I got stories on stories on stories. Like, I can talk about my relationships, I can talk about my addictions, I can talk about art, because I do art, which I didn't even talk about. This isn't what that's about. Like, this is about overcoming something that has literally held me captive for so many years. This year is the year that I really trusted God to, like, walk me out of that, Like, last year I did, but this year I did for real. I do for real right now. Like, I'm like, yo, I can't. And this is like a step forward for me, just even making this video and talking about this stuff, because if you know me, then you know that I don't really reveal anything personal about me, especially on the internet where everyone can see. But I don't care what nobody says about me. I don't care what nobody says about my faith in Jesus. I don't care what nobody try to bring up from my past. Like, I really plan to do a whole lot of things differently, and this is like step one. So subscribe. I suck. I told you I suck at YouTube, so I don't know. And hopefully next time I have a better setup. Like, y'all looking at the side of my bed, I got all these clothes in the background. My room is like an art studio right now. I can't even show you guys because it just looks crazy. Yeah, like I just want to tell you guys that I love y'all sincerely from the bottom of my heart. God is moving in our lives. He is calling us to be a voice. He's calling us to change the norm and to really just be bold and to support each other, because I throughout all these years that I was going through all this stuff, like if I would have had somebody I want to keep crying. If I would have had somebody to like share some of these things with that knew Jesus and that I feel like wouldn't judge me, then I think I would have avoided a lot of the things that I went through. So I just pray that this video finds you well. Got a little emotional at the end, but yeah, like we're moving forward, and check me out the next time. God bless.